Seriously. Okay.
So you
that's
could have
okay.
had 14
You want more than
between
you want to know about me, I'm sure.
I do.
And I bet you have the
I just
same
looked
attitude
around
about
and I
all
was
this that
saying,
George
that is
does.
way too much work. I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. Seriously. Too much work.
The 20s are for having fun.
Yeah.
Definition of
Child,
fun.
right. Okay, we're getting going. Call this meeting to order. Yep, 7 o'clock.
Go ahead. Beckwith,
Here.
Caldwell, Leo, Pascapici, here, Consini,
Here.
Mimi, here, Sheldon.
Here.
We have a quorum. Call again. Leo, say here. Say here. We have a quorum.
Okay. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Happy birthday, boy, like to read the mission statement.
Oh, special.
Okay, I'll read it. The Warren Newport Public Library District provides the community with access to information, kindles the imagination of children and adults, and supports lifelong learning.
All right. Hi, my name is Andre Harris. I'm in the security team. I just want to go a few housekeeping details. First of all, the exits are to my right. And if you go down this hallway to the end, make a left, and you'll see a sign just past the bathrooms, you'll see the exits. Okay? And bathrooms. If you go down this hallway, all the way to the end, make a right, you'll see the bathrooms right on your left side. Vending machines. You go out this room, straight down the end, you'll see the vending machine straight ahead. You're right into it. And in case of emergency, please clear the pathway for emergency responders so that they can get through. If you have any questions, I'll be up front, or just call me and walk in.
Down the hall.
I'll be around. Thank you.
Okay, consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion. When we move, may we move the part with our guest and the presentation to the top of the schedule?
Do we have any public here? We moved it so that we could do the public comment first. I mean, we put it where we put it, so it would be right after
Can we move
public
public
comment.
comment before, first, and then that?
Go ahead and make a motion.
I move to move public comment followed by the presentation for the Tweeny space to the top of the agenda.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so public comment, I gotta find that on here. Anybody for public comment? No? All right. Okay, so, welcome.
Are you ready for me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Tiffany. I've been working on the Point in the youth area. We've been calling it the Point. I don't know if you've heard about the Point.
We have to.
Okay. Okay. Ryan asked that I talk about my firm a little bit and what we do. I just have a little slide. We're a small firm that's been around, for 8 of us. We've been around for 8 years, almost 9. And we primarily work on public libraries, mostly interior renovations, some additions, all in suburban Chicago area. We like to give unique solutions and not the same solution every time, and make sure that we're working with the building, complementing the building that we're working in. Again, most of our work is interior renovation, and so lots of experience in this, from small projects to large projects. This is a list of the libraries that we've worked with, in the area. So it's quite a few, and the project size is varied. And then these are some of our current projects going on now, some recent ones. So close to here, Waukegan, we just finished that up. That's been sort of a phased project, and we just finished the adult area. I don't know if you've
I
been
was
to that
just
one.
there a couple Saturdays ago. It was really, really nice.
Yeah, I love that one. And,
I like how the study rooms are in the center and you can see through all the glass.
Mhm.
Very nice.
Yeah, So yeah, we're very proud of that. Lots of color in that project, and we've been working in that library since we started. So we did the early learning center there first, and then sort of boring projects like the roof and the mechanical system, and now the latest one is the interior renovation of the main floor. So now I will get to the project. So we're working from the, should I use the mouse to point? I'm not sure if I should stand to one side or.
So the
Okay,
corner
here.
is the
So
point.
here, yes. So here is the desk right here, and then here's the toddler area there. So when you walk in the space, you walk through here. Are you oriented? Okay. All right, so we are kind of making a smaller computer area, and then some lounge seating kind of by the desk, so that there's a place for parents to wait while their kids are working in this computer area. And we did a round computer station here so that parents could sit next to the kids while they're on their devices. So we have some iPads and some fixed computers on here. And then the seating starts, there's columns right here. So it starts from here back, and this is where we're proposing to change the carpet. That kind of showing that this is for a certain age group back here. You'll see in a 3D image later, but here, this is a big group tall table, counter height, and then study tables that can be moved around right here. And then back here is more the casual group seating in here. And I'll get into kind of an over. So these are some images looking back. Here's those lounge seating and that group computer table, and here's that tall table here, movable tables, and then the lounge seating back, and then we're proposing to paint the point itself. Here you're seeing a video gaming area, and then lounge seating. This is similar to what you have in the high school area. And then here is a face-out booth. The back is going to be low enough so it doesn't cover the windows. And we're doing a custom height back. Some tables that can be moved so they can make them be in a group, or they can split them apart. And then we have these stools at those tables that rock, so they kind of, they bob around like that. Just another view, kind of standing at that booth area, into the lounge seating and the video game area. And all the seating can be movable.
About how many square feet is it that
The point itself is about 1,200 square feet. And then this is standing, by kind of aerial
So
view looking
realistic.
back. And then here's the staff station, right here. This
Could you
is,
go back again,
yeah.
please? So that's the staff station.
Mhm.
So is the intent to actually have staffs in there,
Supported.
kind of like in the,
Mhm.
okay, very good.
Staff station's going to be open like that, it's not going to be enclosed.
It's more of a laptop, it's like a table, that can be moved around. So they can bring their laptop back there, that was the idea, it's not so service desk-like. And then that's that buoy seat that I was talking about. Just a cafe table that can be moved back and forth with the booth. Again, similar to what you have in your high school area, that sort of seating, foam seating. These are the chairs, so low chairs and high chairs. They're plastic. And then this will be the computer station here. And then this is that tall table. And the typical tables will be a square shape. And the good thing about this particular table is that if you want to add power to them down the road, you can. All the legs have wire management in them. So that's it. And then I'm going to show you the board back here. I'm sure the board. I'm gonna-
Those plastic chairs, the high and low, is there a life expectancy on those?
It's 5 to 10 years. It's long.
Good.
Yeah. So this is the material of those plastic chairs. These are the colors. This is the carpet. So we went with a carpet similar to this, but just with a bigger graphic pattern so that we could use color on the furniture and really pop the furniture off the carpet. These are the paint colors you saw right here. And this is the tops on the tables. So just a little bit of pattern, light color, but like a pattern that kind of goes with the carpet. And then these are the colors of those chairs. And then this is all the fabrics on the upholstery pieces. A little bit of this, and then this. This is all faux leather, so you can wipe it down.
The tabletops, they're like a Formica,
Yeah,
and,
with the PVC edge.
and what is the core material of the tabletop?
It's a wood, I can't tell you exactly what it is. I can look it up for you.
I'd be interested.
Okay. I mean, this is Meehan Camper is the manufacturer, they're a higher end
Is it,
manufacturer.
is it a high density?
It's a higher density, yes. I mean, I've used this table a lot, and I've used it, and it's been around for a while in some libraries. It's a very solid table.
How many seats are we creating in the point? Are we adding additional table space? I don't-
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then the point, all that is new, right?
Yeah, so you have some tables right here, but we have more tables than what you have now. And then we're eliminating a little bit of shelving to get this in. So we counted it up the other day. This is 24, 32. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, plus the gaming, I didn't really count that. Yeah.
Where are we putting the material that we're displacing?
It's, there's some empty shelf space, so we're just squeezing the books closer together.
Colors.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about them on the computer, but when I see what they really look like, it's really, I think it's really got a nice contemporary feel to it.
Yeah.
I like the overall design and it looks so realistic. I have two comments. Number one, we were talking about not needing a dedicated staff to this area because it's really going to increase our costs. You know, I see a staff area there. I'm not opposed to having staff having something to sit. I think they should for programs and things. I like how all the chairs can be moved back and they could put on some sort of presentation or something that it's very movable. But the one thing I really don't like, and is when I look at the point, it screams Waukegan High School to me.
The colors?
Purple, yellow, and green are the colors of Waukegan High School.
Just to address your first point, there will not be dedicated staff there. It will be staffed. I mean, occasionally staff will be there for programs, like you said.
Is the staffing for the vault has really added a lot of costs.
Right.
And that's
Right.
those are ongoing costs, not just a one-time.
Right.
It would just be during the afternoon.
But still, that's a lot of.
But we have two staff already at the desk. One of those staff members would move down there if necessary. It isn't adding to the staff.
Okay. So that's good, but you know, that the purple and the yellow and the green.
Just the paint colors?
That is Waukegan East. Not, I went to Waukegan East. That, Waukegan East was purple and gold. Waukegan West was gold and green. They combined to purple, gold, and green.
That's okay, we could use, I mean.
Yeah, if you change,
That's okay.
if you change in coloring, that would be,
Just get rid of the purple probably.
And that point area, we,
She loves it.
Purple, the green is the problem.
No.
That is not a good
and what are we getting?
If everyone doesn't like one color, I think we should just use it.
But, how is it going to be, you know, I see that the carpet is different, but how will people know that this, because one of the things of having it between space is that, you know, I think people have to have rites of passage and growing up, and to be able to be old enough to use this teen space, and then you're out. When you're older, you're out. So what is it that will define this area as tween space and people outside this age range are not allowed?
I guess have we said that they're not allowed?
Yeah, the parents and the kids will probably be allowed. We'll probably have a policy just like we have for the vault. Those two posts, you have to remember that there's another set of posts further up, but those two posts are kind of the designation area, and we can look into either, you know, painting those, or at some point, putting something, when there's enough money to do it, putting something across the top that says the point, that maybe wouldn't be even that expensive,
Yeah.
to just, you know, put a banner or
Can
something.
it be carved out into the carpet at the front?
Yeah, right now we have a place,
With the whole carpet, that area is whole, that's designated by the carpet.
Right, but so, you can have things put in a
Okay.
carpet.
Right?
Like you could have the like in the black part, the vault ages 12 to 13. Or what, I made up the ages, I don't know what the ages
I
are.
think it'd be visually better if it was higher.
Yeah, I agree, but we don't have money for that, you said right now.
But that would cost to do the carpet too, but I mean, we might be able to find some money, we're not down to that.
There is some floor space between this high table here and this, which shows, you can see here, and we're saying display. So that could be a,
The display.
it could, yeah, it could have some vertical signage on it.
How come the carpet doesn't include the circular table?
Because there's, the younger kids can go there
Oh,
too.
okay. I like it.
I like it a lot.
Good.
I like it a lot.
What's the picture on the sidebar?
This is the carpet in a larger, you know, so you can see more of it looks like than that little piece.
What's the top picture?
That's it installed.
A live application,
Yeah.
it's a different location.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We could put that in and put the point on it.
What do you think kids, obviously, you'll like it, do they seem a little subdued for kids' colors? I mean, they're not primary colors, I don't think you should use primary colors, but they seem kind of, toned down.
Colorful.
I don't think so.
It's pretty colorful.
I think it's pretty
The rest of the
bright.
library, I think it's pretty
As long as we get rid of the Waukegan colors, I'm fine.
You're probably the only one here in here who knows those are walking colors.
bright. Well, I do.
I do too.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
But I have to say, it's not mauve and whatever you would call that green color, chartreuse or yellow. It's Packer green, Packer gold, and bright purple. They're
Yeah.
not like that.
Even if we had a
In my
real
opinion.
thin stripe of the purple and added the blue, then it wouldn't be,
Mhm.
I mean, right now it sounds like it's that's it. It's those colors only, and so I think we either need to add more or switch one of the
And when
colors.
you put it on the
So-
big, that's all, when I
Yeah.
looked at it, that's all I thought. Waukegan,
What's the age group, please?
yeah, let's see.
I think it would 10.
Third through fifth.
Okay,
Third
then
through
let's
fifth,
all
and then
go.
6 through 18 goes in the vault.
6 through, yeah, 6 through, yeah.
High school.
High school, yeah.
So are we to the point right now where we're saying go ahead with this?
It's ready to go.
It's ready to go. And so really the only concern right now is the color point. So can we get just a verbal, or even just a picture of what the new design could look like?
Yeah.
Is there gonna be any increase in heating or cooling requirements?
No.
Will there be any change in outlets? Because it doesn't look like we're ripping up the floor.
There are outlets right along here. So this one is gonna grab one of the outlets in the leg and have 2 outlets at the tabletop. These right now are not hitting them. If in the future you decide to trench the floor and add, then we can add them to the tabletop and they can have power at the tabletop. But right now, that wasn't in the budget to do that. And then there's one that hits right in here. We're gonna add for the gaming station, and then we're gonna, at the bottom of these booths, we're gonna add some outlets so they can plug in under there. There are some along the wall, so it's kind of like an extension cord that will go. But we're not, other than the gaming, we're not adding.
What about USB jacks?
Though, yeah, this will have USB and power and syllabus, the new ones, yeah. And then, this will have a USB plug-in also. So there'll be a cabinet for gaming systems, and then people can plug their own laptops or devices into the monitor that's on the wall too.
One other question about the monitor, will you be able to cast to it from an iDevice? A lot of the schools in the area are using iPads. If they can do
Like an
AirPlay to
Apple
it.
TV?
Yeah,
Couldn't we just add an Apple TV to George and
probably.
Yeah.
that's that?
And one of the things we're also looking at is having another screen there. We're looking into Touch-Its. I don't know that we have the money right now to do it, but we're having the space allocated so we can. A Touch-It screen, so it would be like a giant iPad that the kids, we've seen them in some other places, Wakanda, where they can go up and they can pull up an app and they're sitting on stools in front of it and playing a game or doing something else. And that seems to be kind of really popular. To go to do one of those tables that's like that would be very expensive. So we're kind of hoping to have something like that, or if a different technology comes up that we can put on the wall to have that, we have the space allocated for it.
Will the kids be allowed to make, not screaming, but will they be allowed to make a normal amount of noise?
Oh, yeah. They do anyway, so, yeah, no. We tried to accommodate, in other words, that loungy area is all kind of together, but that Tiffany made sure that we had areas for kids who are really sitting there and studying. And at that maker area, that we're calling a maker, it's a higher table, that might be an area where we would have things like, these are younger kids, where you'd have maybe if you were doing a Lego bot or whatever these things are, we might put the materials on there so that they could, you know, make these things or play with these things or these technologies or these, all these different maker things. So that's
Like a
what.
pop-up makerspace.
Exactly,
Different
exactly.
times.
Thank you.
Are we becoming a babysitter?
Is that something that might affect the materials budget at some point if we start adding, let's say, Lego kits?
We do have some of those kind of things now already that we could put out. And it's also a great place if the kids, they like to play some of the games that are giant, like Connect Four and chess and stuff like that. So this would be a place that would work really well with that too.
Is there a place for them? I noticed in the vault area, they have that big wall they can write on or put pictures on. or-
There's gonna be a whiteboard here, so this is the gaming, and then here's a whiteboard, and then this is space for another screen down the road. So it'll be a magnetic whiteboard, so you can kind of do whatever you want with it.
I'd just like to add that Tiffany's been great about listening to us about the money and everything, because we've gone from some different ideas for seating in front of the gaming to something that's multifunctional. And even this week, we went from, how many times did we change the point this week? She's been really great. So you're talking about the colors, we've been going back and forth, and she's thrown out probably 5 just yesterday for us after we.
So, no problem.
So she's been a real pleasure to work with.
Any other questions?
I like it.
Yeah, thank you very much
Okay.
for coming, we really appreciate it.
Thanks,
All
Tiffany.
right.
Yeah. Now, back to the campus. Okay, consent, back to the consent, right? Okay, anyone want to make a motion on that?
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'm sorry, I would like fines and fees, item G, to removed from the consent agenda.
Any others?
Anything else, anybody want to take anything else up?
Did you want all?
G2.
I rescind my previous motion. I'm making a new motion. I move to accept the consent agenda as presented with the exception of G2.
And G1.
You want the wage scale removed?
Yep.
Thank you.
G2 with the exception of G.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So, Bob,
What's that?
you removed 24.
Yeah, the weight scale, I mean, it's a really nice looking scale. But what's the use of having it? It's not assigned anything.
It's assigned to grade. Every employee at a
Are you
different
saying
grade.
You don't know what grade
What's
six,
a grade 7, 8, 9, 21? Doesn't tell me, it doesn't tell you anything. What does a grade 7 do? Andrea, what does a grade 8 do?
I will defer to the director who.
That's what I'm saying,
this-
nobody knows.
It was
Bob,
only
stop,
discussed
wait a
in the
minute,
finance
time out.
committee,
This was
Bob.
discussed in the finance committee meeting. And every grade does apply to certain things, like the lowest grade applies to shelvers. And the highest grade, with the exception of the director, applies to the managers of the departments and the deputy director.
It is in
There
each
are
job- is in each job
specific
description.
jobs to each one of these grades. And if you like, Ryan can probably give you that
Yeah, sure.
offline.
No, it's not.
And just to say something
Go
about,
for it.
you see in every business that there are pay grades of some sort. And it doesn't mean that your individual job descriptions are categorized under them, but when you create a new job description, one of the factors in that job description is what pay grade that job will be. So that everyone who's doing that same job falls under that same pay grade.
That's fine.
I don't know if we have anywhere compiled a list of every job description and what pay grade they go to. I don't know if we even need that, but I'm sure somewhere somehow that exists.
So you don't want Ryan to send that to you?
No, I don't.
Would someone like to make a motion about policy 2040?
I move to accept policy 2040 as presented.
I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Wait a minute, do we need a voice vote on that one because it is of a financial?
well, it's a
nature?
It is a policy.
It's a
Okay.
policy.
Any abstain? Thank you. Andrew? Oh, no, Nancy, sorry.
I just wanted it to be clear that the two comments that are on the printout.
There's another version
There's a new
that
version of
replaced
this.
with the comments removed. I noticed that too.
I'm
and they
sorry.
were taken out.
Yeah.
My apologies, I did not send it with the comments in.
The comments were good, I mean, when they were made, just they needed to get, okay, I'm sorry. As long as, and the 1,500 for the laptop, everyone's okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fine. I move that we accept policy 3023, the beige version.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Okay, President's report is on page 63 and 64. Any questions? Comments? Okay. Reports, anyone else? Please.
Yeah. I attended the Veterans Day Fair. A nice young man sat down next to me, was coloring a picture. And his mom was teaching him at home. And we got to talking, and he asked me what Vietnam was. And she pointed out that I was a veteran, because I was aware of it. So he gave me this.
Pretty nice.
Very nice.
Notice anything special about that?
Colt Bob?
The way you wrote his date,
What's special about it?
it's the military way to write it.
Yeah.
That's me, that's pretty neat.
Inside out and backwards.
That's great.
That's nice.
Has that been on your fridge, Bob?
No, actually, that's gonna be framed.
Excellent. Even better.
That's
Next to some other military photos.
Anybody else?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The Mrs. Roosevelt, I thought it was
Wasn't great.
right on, yeah. Yeah, she did an excellent job.
Okay, George.
I've been following a series of articles on Slate Magazine, Digital Trends, about the future of libraries. I just wanted to bring it up in case anybody else has been it's very interesting.
And
Yeah, elucidate.
The entire question is what will libraries do as they become more information driven? Who will guard the information of their patrons?
so there's no,
It's a long series, so it's,
but nothing definitive? Yeah.
no, their crystal ball is still broken.
Yeah. Any suggestions, no, any suggestions or insight?
Just more of what we already are doing. I mean, digital transformation is basically where we're going, but we're still gonna have our books. We have to make sure that as we go digital, we are safeguarding our digital data as much as we're safeguarding our premises.
All right, correspondence, do we have any correspondence? No, okay. Just you did public comment. We did the twin space. Okay, reports of committees. The art committee report was replaced with this orange one, the one in the packet. You can.
It was on the table at orange page, that's replacing the one in your packet.
And policy committee was in your packet separately on the green sheet. Anybody have anything to add?
Well, I'd like to claim that I was present at the art acquisition committee meeting.
Yes. Do we need to reissue these?
No. Just the minutes can reflect that, correct? Yeah, we'll just put it in the minutes.
I'd like to ask, what's the overall, opinion? Are we pleased with the progress that's being made with the students? You took some
Well, the
visit.
students were not as far along as we had hoped. Their ideas were not very well developed, and so we're having a meeting next month, and we should expect to have more formal presentations from them.
Have we paid them money yet?
Oh, no.
No, okay.
We're not paying the students, we're paying for
Well,
materials.
the
No, no
materials.
money has been spent.
Okay,
We don't know what materials they need yet.
okay.
And originally, the instructor, Rocco Odo, had wanted it done in the first semester, and that was his deadline, not ours. So,
So what do you think happened?
Is it fair to say they're still in the ideation phase?
yes,
Okay.
Now?
I think that
High
we've
school.
got high school kids who are, and these are all AP students, honor students, and they have other priorities. And kind of crept up on me.
Being rectified, or are we supervision
Yes.
going to be a little bit closer, or?
Well, I think they were very embarrassed,
Yes, that's fair to say.
very embarrassed, the students were.
You
And
think so?
we,
I wasn't there, just.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, yeah.
we do, and we discussed, once the project gets underway, rather than looking at it at the end, we're going to have them, we'll be in on this date, or you can send us pictures, breaking it down into smaller chunks, so they'll have deliverable, or we're gonna see what's gonna be done by that point, just to keep them on task.
They need, in my opinion, more oversight
I was just gonna say, it sounds like.
as they're going along. And that was an issue too, I think, that will be rectified, don't you? Yeah. Do you agree with that, Nancy? Yeah.
Yes, that
He
was what
committed
it
to,
sounded like.
yeah.
It was not just the students who were embarrassed, it was also the teacher.
Sounds like you should have.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a really nice opportunity to kind of, to show himself and what the students can do in the community. And
Mhm.
And we were surprised that the students
It
didn't
was
take a
disappointing.
bigger, if you're an artist and this is your chance to display your work,
Right.
if one of them had come together with a full proposal, they probably would have gotten it. As long as it wasn't too far out of what we wanted.
Do you think they have a real clear understanding of what you're looking for?
We gave them a whole PowerPoint presentation that we could send to all of the board members, but I think it was pretty clear.
And they were treated, I think, like when we had the people come in for the mural, we tried purposely not to be too prescriptive, but to be more inspiring, so that they could have their own vision, or they could come up with their ideas within certain parameters, but we didn't want to be too saying, well, we want this or that, or we don't want this or that, but it was,
And it wasn't their lack of preparation, had nothing to do with, we didn't give them quite enough ideas or not
Right.
understanding. It's just that they're teenagers and
Hopefully we'll have better results.
But you know what, I think, you know, a lot of this is a learning process, because we're treating them in a professional manner, not, hey, no big deal, come whenever you're ready. We gave them a professional presentation, and they didn't return the opportunity in kind, and they learned their lesson on what it's, the ones who did show up learned the lesson on what it's like to stand unprepared in front of however many of us.
Andrea, or Youth Services and Andrea worked very hard on the PowerPoint presentation that was given the prior time with all the things they wanted. Lots of Caldecott illustrations and others for inspiration, showing just the wide range of what they could do.
We did a history of, you know, the ideas that were given to previous commissions, the one I can see from here, the one over here, we've got the one, the big mural, and, you know, what their inspiration was, and then, and we got, like the one up front, we got 40 submissions, and the history and what the ended product, the final product looked like, and so we hope to see better from them next time around.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add a little bit on personnel on the one for the 12th. We finalized our instrument for evaluating Ryan, and I was going to make it a paper and pencil survey, but George has worked his wizardry, and I'll be able to send it out as an electronic survey, which will save me from sitting at my kitchen table for hours on end trying to tabulate everything with hash marks and a calculator. So instead of, I have a sample copy for everybody if you want to pass those. Oh, I think mine's on the bottom. If you want to just take, I put your names on all of them. And here's a copy for you, so you know what to write to. And so I will follow the timeline that we put in here, and I want to thank George who did it really quickly. When you submit your survey, it'll go to George and it'll all be calculated, so we know what the numbers look like.
So return to George and do not copy Ryan.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, it just says, there's a button that says submit form, isn't that correct? Yeah.
Right at the top.
Yeah, and it'll go to George. So
Is that on?
I'm gonna send it, I wanted to tell you first, but I'll send it right away.
The way that I set it up is just email distribution only, I didn't try to do anything fancy. There is a button on there you will need to press before you submit, which will calculate all of the fields. It was the
Yeah,
easiest
it
way to get
says
everything.
calculate totals.
Yes. So after you fill everything out, that's the very last thing on the lines, you know, after you enter everything in. In fact, you'll see it on, what is page 4? At the bottom of page 4, which, this is not the digital version, so it doesn't show it on here, but at the bottom of page 4, there'll be a button that says calculate totals.
Yeah, I
Press
left
it.
that page off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Press it, it'll run all the code and
Or still stays for credit?
Yep.
so there are 10 spaces for comments, these, whatever you see here. These will be digitally entered as well, you can type them in. I left room for 3 lines of text on each, so don't go too overboard. You can enter more, just won't be visible on the form.
Just to fill you in a little bit on when Sue and I worked on this, everything that was in the prior survey is still in here, all the ideas. But we also asked Ryan for a copy of the job description and discovered that they were incongruent, I would say is a good way to describe it. So we made an effort to make the survey much more congruent with the job description, which seems almost like the way it should be. So that's how, it's a little longer than the last time, but that's the reason why.
One caveat for the digital version of this, you do have to open it in Adobe Reader. So it is a PDF, it has to open in Adobe Reader, you can't just open it in Preview or Mac.
Speaking of that, I sent you, I want to put instructions in the email, and I sent you the instructions. If you could look at those, because I said that in there, that's what made me think of it.
Okay,
And if you okay the instructions, I'll send it out,
sounds good.
okay? Because I don't want to say the wrong thing. But I did say that had it go on Adobe, because I didn't have Adobe and I couldn't open it. I could open it, but I couldn't work it correctly.
And you want it, Ken and I.
Do you
We said
both
December
this
1st, I
Adobe
think,
with it?
right?
We did.
Yeah, we said December 1st.
I can't send you a copy of Adobe Reader, but you can download it from adobe.com.
Okay.
I put a link in the instructions, so if you don't have it, you can just click on it and go to where you downloaded it.
Okay.
Did you want to say?
No, I'm sorry, I'm just fighting this cold, so I continue to
Sorry.
cough, and that was not a,
Okay, any other
It was-
questions, comments on
trying to
this?
clear my throat.
Okay. Director's report. Want to say anything particular?
Just a lot of, yeah, I mean, I think the big highlights are on the front page.
Like the band?
Like the van, so we have the van, I think everyone's seen a photo, we're very excited about it.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And as I said, when I sent out that memo, Noreen has been just working for months, very hard on getting this done, so we owe her a bit of gratitude.
Very organic.
Thank you.
And their Varg had a huge role in this as well, we owe her a bit of gratitude, so.
Now we're planning the party,
Now we're planning the party, which is not in here, but it is,
December 12th.
December 12th, right? We just figured that out today, 10:30?
Yes. We
So,
confirmed it today.
so if
Will
you
Bob
can,
Gordon be
It's a,
there?
yes,
he
he
will
will.
be
He's
there.
very
At
excited.
10:30?
Yeah, and he
So-
actually just put out a book, there's a book been published about him. Coming from a log cabin
Oh,
to
that's
owning the
Saturday.
every auto in the world. But yeah, he will be here. And he's very excited, we're gonna try to make sure that we get kids here, because he's really all
He loves
about-
children, so
Yeah,
we've heard some children to bring.
yeah, bring children.
10:30, yeah.
You'll have one more by then, George.
What is this? Is it Saturday?
It's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday morning, and it should be like an hour, so it wouldn't take much of the day.
Anything else you want to add?
Those were the highlights, obviously the friends in the
Okay,
library.
I have to, I think Brian's keeping his light under a basket. Did everyone see that Brian had presented at ILA?
Yeah.
Okay, before he's even here in the state for 1 year. And so, I had my sources. I sent this picture around.
That's nice.
Well, areas to the evaluation.
Really? Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
No, any
Okay.
questions?
Okay.
Yes. Can you tell me what, on page 74, under
Mhm.
vital statistics,
Yeah.
what is an outreach visit? I believe it includes visits to preschools and to nursing homes, and it would also include homebound. What else it comes under that?
Well, it's interesting you asked that question, Nancy, because in that, you can see we have not changed the statistics, but with the new updated statistics, that's one of the debates we had about how we define outreach, because I think, and Noreen, correct me if I'm mistaken, but these outreach visits, are they tied directly to the outreach department, or are these the visits that are done by other departments as well?
This was at one time, and I'd have to confirm it, but at one time it was supposed to include, and I think it does, visits for, in other words, if they went to some schools from the youth services department, they were supposed to be combining them here. So, it would be other outreach
Like
visits.
if a class comes in, or if we go to talk to
No.
a school?
If they come in, it's an internal thing, it's a tour. If we
Okay.
go out there, it's outreach, if we leave the building, it's outreach.
Okay.
It would also include like stories in the park, all those kind of things too. So we're trying to make that is definitely one thing we're gonna get
Yeah, with the
More
new
clear.
statistical form, it's gonna be more clearly defined, because, you know, that's pretty ambiguous as you observe that, what does that mean, so.
And
It looks
under,
like that would include
oh,
homebound senior staff.
oh, that adds up to.
Right.
Preschool stops, yeah, preschool stops and neighborhood stops, whatever it must be.
Right, the darkened.
And, okay, under, the ILL, as articles are things in periodicals that we ask someone to copy for the patron here.
Right,
And nobody's asking us to copy anything.
yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've done ILL work, but you know, typically when a public library does this, it's something that, you know, the public library isn't carry, so you have to go to a university library, some academic journal that they have that we don't have. I mean, I could get you more details, I don't know off the top of my head what those four are.
It's usually things from databases that include some things that are full text, but some things are not full text, and they're usually not appropriate for public libraries. So you have to take extra steps to get them, and those steps are an ILL. Anything else?
So what to do, go down to the outreach statistics. Oh, never mind, I was misreading something.
Okay, Stephanie?
So, we are, as you all know, we are also working with Tiffany Nash on the staff room. We've had our initial meeting, well, we've had a couple of meetings with Tiffany on the staff room, and we've seen some renderings, and, you know, we basically provided her feedback based on what the staff needs. And she's gonna come back and hopefully, possibly by next month, have something to show the board, so. So that project is moving along, and it's gonna be really nice, because one of the things we know we're going to do, right now there's a bit of a bottleneck in that room, so where it's separated from the kitchen will be more opened up, and that little island that's there, you'll be able to go around the island, so that will help with flow and there events in there. Yeah, so it's gonna be a really nice project. I don't have budget numbers yet on that, so I'm not sure what that budget's looking like. So we just talked about initial ideas. Essentially, that meeting we had was, she showed us a couple different themes that we could go with. One of them involved, for example, carpet in part of the room and hard floor in the other part of the room. It was a kind of a neat design, but we decided, with Kevin Getty's input, that just wasn't good in terms of keeping that space clean, so we're gonna go with the hard floor. And so the project is moving along. I don't have any numbers to show you or definitive plans, but we have a few basic concepts that we like with that project, so.
Where are we, when should we start the point, we have to approve the plan, I suppose, in court, don't we, for the budget?
I think we just did.
Well, with the point that yeah, I mean, the budget was, you know, it was
But
allocated.
do we ever get a line item
Oh,
to see what's being spent on?
yeah, there's a rough budget right now, but it's not finalized, because a lot of that depends on what the furniture, you know, the numbers come back for the furniture and other things. So we know that we'll be able to do it within the budget, but we don't have exact numbers yet. We have kind of a rough working budget. Does that make sense, Sue?
I guess my question is, when do we finalize it? Because we haven't, the board has not finalized it yet, have we?
We finalized it when we finalized the budget. He can spend it as long as it's in the budget. It's not carved out as a separate expenditure that has to be approved by the board.
And we approved her as the designer for it.
As long as
So
it
the
stays.
timeline is still on schedule?
Still in the spring, yeah. And obviously, I'll share that budget information with the board and the renderings tonight, and make sure that everyone's comfortable with it.
Anything else on that? Okay, committee of the whole. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move we continue committee meetings as available.
I'll second. Discussion.
Is this an open-ended? There is no,
As long as I'm on the board.
I would actually make a suggestion as to timing for this. Can we set it to expire when this current board leaves at the end of May 2017?
What's your rationale for that?
Well, right now, we know we have the expertise to handle each of our different functions, but there's no guarantee that we will when re-elections sweep through. Who's here now may not be who's here then. I think it's something that each board, as they're seated, could decide to continue committee of the whole or to break into committees with citizen members as needed.
Except I think it should, the bylaws should reflect what we do. So if Julie have a second on this?
Yes, I
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
No, I motion.
So if we change it, I think we have to change the bylaws, and then if people want to change it back in 2 years, they can.
Well,
I think we
there's
can-
nothing that.
There's something in the bylaws that prohibits it. And we can simply amend the bylaws such that this is one of the votes that happens the night of the organizational meeting.
I'm not sure that the night of the organizational meeting, if we're dealing with new people, that they're gonna know enough to know what they want to do.
And it's always a possibility, even as committee of the whole, if we want someone from outside with expertise, that we invite them to that committee.
Yes, but it's a lot harder, because you're talking about bringing in somebody ad hoc at that point instead of somebody on a regular schedule. I like the committee of the whole the way it's working right now, but I can see it working badly with a different mix of people.
I appreciate that. Just one more thing to do in this proposal. I'm not sure, depending on the board, but try it. We tried it. We can try it. Director would have to kind of steer them to the table how to be.
So,
I think it works well right now.
It does work well.
We're not redundant in the meeting, we're not taking up a lot of time at the regular board meeting, repeating what happened at the committee meeting, and everybody's on the same page, so,
My concern is if certain individuals were to rejoin our board,
I understand, I appreciate what you're saying.
the productivity would go way down in that type of scenario.
all right, so I hate to go, how would you want the bylaws to reflect this then?
I think we need to have another discussion of how to reflect it in the bylaws. Right now, we're discussing whether or not we're going to do it.
Then the policy committee can
Amend the
discuss
bylaws.
that at the next
Committee of the whole.
committee of the whole, yeah. My first reaction is it needs to be a separate section under committees and the,
Okay. Yeah. All right, who else has something to add, please? Brian, we have not heard from you on this, please.
I think you know how I feel about it. I sent a memo out about this a few months ago for one of the meetings. I do like the way Committee of the Whole works. I think it's valuable to have everyone at the table, everyone's perspectives. I think it saves this board a great deal of time. I like the fact that there are just a few meetings and aren't meetings scattered throughout the month. I mean, maybe that's a selfish point of view, but I think that's also good for the board as well, that you, two nights of the month, you're dedicated to going to these meetings. So I really like it. And then there are disadvantages and other downsides to it too, but overall I like it. And I see George's perspective now, because this is a board that has that expertise. From whether it's finance or personnel or all the individual committees that this group has that expertise. But I think it's working really well. I'm a big fan of this committee of the whole stuff. So.
Anyone else? You ready to vote? All those in favor?
Do we want to change my motion to amend it to include George's suggestion instead?
Might as well put it in the motion and we can work on the
It's your
policy.
motion.
issues.
Okay, so I'll amend the motion to adopt committee of the whole. Committee of the whole
Through May.
through May of 2017.
Actually, I'd say through, okay, well, May would be before the board, okay. Yeah, and that definitely leaves it up to the new board.
To decide whether to continue and if they still have the expertise needed.
Yeah.
Anyone want a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
All those abstaining?
I'm abstaining.
Let's do a roll call. Let's do a roll call.
Deal,
Stay.
Alcapisi? Nay. Sheldon?
I'm gonna vote nay.
Caldwell?
Aye.
Cotsinis?
Aye.
Mimi?
Aye.
Beckwith?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Andres.
This is a very brief update. I'm working with, as you know, Lauren Childers and Diana Vickery. We have a nice little committee, this ad hoc, or attempting to form this ad hoc fundraising committee. And we're having, I think we've had a successful start so far. I don't think we're in a position to reveal, we're not too many names yet, but we're working on it. So if you still have some ideas for this group, please feel free to share them. I think everyone has shared their names, so. So I think we're still on progress. We're hoping to get this group together early, 2016. I think we're aiming for February, so I think we're still on track for that.
I had, Mr. Bobby, the contact the board, who was the fundraiser for CLC.
Did I ask you to? We can talk about it offline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, new business. Can I have a motion on the levy ordinance?
I move the board adopt ordinance 2016-5, levy for fiscal year 2014-2015.
I second that.
Discussion? Make this a roll call, please.
Alcapisi? Aye. Cotsinis?
Aye.
Caldwell?
Aye.
Deal?
Nay.
Mimi?
Aye.
Sheldon?
Aye.
Beckwith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Excuse me now, before we go on, please. I think this is important enough. This is a big enough deal that I feel I do have the right to ask, why are you voting against funding the library? Without the levy ordinance, we cannot collect any tax revenue. Without tax revenue, this place closes. Why are you voting to close the library?
You got your levy.
That's not the point, sir. Why do you feel that this library should not remain open? I think that the rest of us deserve to hear your reasons for that.
Make it feel that way, but I don't.
Okay, let's move on, please. Can I have a motion for the next ordinance, please?
I move the board adopt ordinance 2015-26, providing for the execution of the intergovernmental agreement with library insurance management and risk control combination.
I'll second that.
I don't think it matters, because this is one of the, as the memo said, this is almost like, it really has very little to do with us.
Any
It's a-
discussion? All right.
Don't we do roll calls on ordinances? Don't we do roll calls on
Yeah,
ordinances?
agenda.
Yeah, we do
Do
ordinances.
for ordinance? Okay, roll call then.
Cotsini?
Aye.
Mimi?
Aye.
Deal?
Stay.
Alcapisi? Aye. Sheldon?
Aye.
Caldwell?
Aye.
Beckwith?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Okay, next ordinance.
I move the board adopt ordinance 2015-2016-7, approving proposed amendments to Limericks, bylaws, and intergovernmental agreement.
I'll second.
Discussion? I have no comments, one, too.
Mimi,
Aye.
Sheldon,
Aye.
Parkapisi,
Aye.
Katsini,
Aye.
Caldwell,
Aye.
Deal,
Abstain.
Beckwith,
Aye.
ayes have it.
Okay. Treasurer's report. Page 147. We need a motion to accept this, right?
Yes.
I move to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second. Discussion? Let's have a roll call on this one,
Sheldon,
Aye.
Caldwell,
Aye.
Katsini,
Aye.
Mimi,
Aye.
Deal,
Aye.
Parkapisi,
Aye.
Beckwith,
too. Aye.
ayes have it.
Is there something I need to sign after the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, page 157, homebound. This was requested by Nancy.
Well, if I might start with two questions, please. Okay, I saw that on this, in the director's report, we had, what was it, 18, just a moment, where are we, 17?
Through 74, Nancy. is-
We had 27 homebound deliveries in October, which appears to be more than usual.
Yeah, it's, the service has been increasing, since when I compiled these statistics, Nancy, when was this? Was this 3 months ago?
Give or take.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's picked up since then. In fact, Carol Brandon said the other day in a meeting that, you know, that she's, you know, seen this increased volume and is having problems keeping up with homebound, so.
It basically is one delivery, well, how many patrons receive homebound delivery? I'm assuming that possibly some of these 27 are a second or even a third visit to the same patron within the month.
It could have, excuse me, okay.
No, that's good, I'm not sure, that's a good question.
It could have, that's definitely true, Nancy. In other words, that was one of the reasons, that somebody, because of the way the month fell or something, needed more materials. But, and I know at least a few of those were that, but normally it is supposed to be like about once a month.
Okay, so, are the materials that are circulated that way checked out for a month then? Or do we come collect them or after 3 weeks? Or is the patron responsible for getting them back here?
No, we pick them up unless, sometimes a patron will, if they have a son or daughter, somebody who, or a relative, will drop them back, but most of the time we pick them up, and I believe that it's an extended, it might be like a 6-week checkout to accommodate in case they're missing. Sometimes we'll have to go back in and change it because of the fact that they, you know, might be in the hospital or something too.
Thank you.
Can we get an overall briefing of how the homebound program works? Does someone have to fill out a form to be approved? Can anybody just call it homebound?
I would, if you don't mind, I'll defer to Noreen, because she knows much more about the program than I do.
Yeah, somebody calls in and asks, requests it, and then, you know, they give their reason, they fill out a form, why they, you know, can't get to the library, things like that. And then we set up a, like a database for them, the one that's the only time that we do keep a record of what somebody's read, so that we're not bringing back the same things over and over. The person would go out and meet with them and talk to them about what they like to read, you know, what they've read, do kind of this whole orientation with them about it, and then it usually starts out once a month. Now, there are some people who have come off of it, you know, stopped using it because maybe a relative moved closer and was able to get them here, but most of the time, it stays till they pass.
How many people are approved, and what is it that qualifies them for the homebound service?
The fact that they can't get here anyway. Okay, so you could be homebound, let's say, you could even sign up for homebound if, let's say, you had a child at home who was disabled and you couldn't get here very frequently at all. We could set something up to help, and maybe that wouldn't be as frequent. Years ago, I can remember doing one where it was the woman had 4 kids home with chickenpox and was gonna lose her mind if we didn't get her some materials. So, but they fill out the form, and I could get you a copy of the form so you could see what's on, what's on.
Thanks to Jan Marsh, we
Thank you,
passed those around.
thank you, Jan. That's right.
So if the bookmobile stops within a block of their house,
Oh, many times we delivered it that way. We actually had a couple, well, I can remember even back when I was doing it, we had one over in Mariners Cove, that's exactly how we delivered it. If it's close enough, we just walk off the bookmobile and one of the people runs in and gives them their materials.
but they couldn't just use the bookmobile?
They couldn't, no, they
Oh, they
can't get out of the
physically can't
house
get out.
physically, most of them, yeah.
And how does ebooks and stuff come into that play?
If they are able to do that, most of the time they are. A lot of them use audiobooks, and even the Playaway. I'd have to ask, that's a good question for me to ask Carol if anybody's doing the ebooks, because she would sit there and show them how to do that if they could. I know that, I remember her talking about one that she did that with, but that was a while ago.
I just noticed that you have the number of books per delivery can be anywhere from 1 to 40. I'm sorry, I'm thinking 40 books sounds like an awful lot of books to be dropping off for one person.
But we have had people who, that's all they do is read. But in that regard though, Nancy, what we would probably do is that person might say, I only want you to come every other month. So that's why we have it, so that we could take care of it for them that way, so that we could drop off 40.
As someone has a disabled child at home, actually 40 is not that big a deal. I mean, I'll bring Kyle to the library, he'll take home, 20 books, so.
That's
Because
not about it
it's
for
not
little
that
kids,
many.
they go through books like water, because it only takes 5 minutes to read a book.
Well, and honestly, if you came to the library, you could check out 50 items. So it's less than what you could check out here. Most of them are real realistic about it. We do have a couple who are just unbelievable readers.
I'm just, okay, for instance, you mentioned the possibility that somebody might return the books for them,
Yes,
rather than
and-
our picking them up. I'm afraid that I'm not quite grasping, if somebody can drop stuff off here, we have the 24-hour pickup. Basically,
be-
it is why are we
We wouldn't.
delivering stuff to them when obviously they do have some kind of access? If they can get stuff back here,
I'm just saying, no, it's, okay, that is very inconsistent. What I'm saying is, let's say that a relative comes into town to visit, okay? They might come to the library, but this is not, these people do not have somebody who will regularly come and get things for them and return things for them. If they did, then they wouldn't be in the home box.
Do you know approximately how many patrons we have on Homebound?
I think it's probably, it ranges between, it was low for a while, it ranged between like 9 and, usually the highest that I've ever seen of number of people was 20, that I can remember. I'd have to go back and I can find that out for you.
I have an unrelated question. How How much is a typical transaction for an interlibrary loan?
Oh, if someone were to request a title, I guess it depends, Tom, on how we fulfill that request.
Ballpark.
Ballpark?
People have done estimates on that for years,
Yeah,
and it's
I thought
ranged
it-
from $25 to $5.
Oh, we're talking about cost? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not, yeah,
It's
everyone's not
expensive.
inexpensive, yeah.
That's what, $25,
That's
$40?
easily.
How many patrons do we have that uses interlibrary loans throughout the month?
The number was
It might be in the statistics, let me see. I don't know if that's number of user in there though, Brian, in the statistics, or if that's.
No, it's probably not users, it's probably just
It's
the,
the number of
transaction.
items.
Are
Yeah.
Is anyone limited on the number of interlibrary loans they can get?
Isn't it 5?
Five.
5?
I thought it was 10.
Articles, you can have 10 articles pending, I believe, but
Oh,
Five.
not books or,
Okay.
yeah.
So really my direction or my thought process is this, is that we're catering to able-bodied people who come into the library, and it's an expensive service as a server. And if we only have a manageable amount of homebound people, and while it is expensive, I almost equate that as the cost of doing business. And so, as I'm listening to this discussion, as we're zeroing in on how much we're paying for this and how often and that type of thing, there's other parts of our library that cost us a lot of money to serve our patrons. So that's just kind of a random thought that's going through my head.
This, okay, Tom, this was not we should get rid of this. It just struck me as we were putting out what over the course of a year is several $1,000s, and yeah, what else could we do with that money for a very, very limited number of patrons? It was just, that was had tried to balance, I suppose, what in democratic terms would be the rights of the minority against the good of the majority. Yeah.
No, I understand.
Anyone else have anything to add to the discussion?
I'm just gonna go on record to say, I like this service. I think it's a great idea. If I couldn't get out of my house for some reason, I'd be going stir crazy. I'd love to have something like this available to me. And I think it's one of the better services we offer.
I'll repeat what I said, we talked about this earlier. I think these are our most vulnerable patrons, and I think it's our privilege to serve them. And if it costs a little bit more than it costs to check out a book in this library, I don't have a problem with that.
Right now, we have 20, and we've had anywhere from 9 to 20. And it's, I don't look at it as for 9 people or for 20 people. All of us are a car accident away from being a paraplegic. One of my closest friends was in a car accident, and he's in a wheelchair for life. Luckily, he has a wife who can get to the library and he can still drive. But that might not be true for me next week. And I can tell you my husband isn't gonna go back and forth to the library for me. But luckily I have online. And I have friends who would do it. But all of us, every patron in our district is just a car accident away from being immobile. And I think this is a service that I'm happy to support. And if it costs us $550.98 on a month, that's about $6,612 a year.
I am pleased to understand more about it.
And if you have any other
For that-
questions, I'm sorry if I didn't answer them, I'll give the answers for you.
Nancy, did you have any other concerns that you wanted to?
Well, I did have a brief discussion with Ryan about this a few months ago. That's when I asked him for the information that was included in the packet this month. And he did mention that there might be other less expensive possibilities for providing the service. One of them being something like mailing the books to the patron rather than we actually deliver them there. Another possibility that would make it less expensive was arranging to do it through volunteers, much like Meals on Wheels kind of thing. Yeah, who
Can
just
I-
done by volunteers. Now, there are still liability issues. I didn't say that they were easily workable, but it was a thinking about ways of possibly continuing to provide the service at less expense. I mean, it seems to me that over the last couple months, we've heard we're looking at every $50 lectures. And I have no reason to believe that the budget situation is going to suddenly improve significantly. So just, that was another part of this, was whether maybe the answer was to continue providing the service, but to provide it differently. Or at least to look into other options.
There's
Yeah.
another point that you have overlooked.
I'm sorry? Oh,
You're overlooking something. When we drop a book off to somebody at their front door,
yes.
okay, we're also seeing that they're okay by themselves. And if they're not, we can do something about it.
In one sense, you're right. In another sense,
It's not.
if somebody, if we go to drop off a book and nobody answers the door, I'm rather doubting that we are calling the police and saying, will you check on Mrs. Anderson? She didn't answer the door.
They usually,
So,
they
yes.
usually call ahead, and if they don't answer, we might just do that, because at one point, we went in, they knocked, and I know that a woman had fallen, but she was able to call out and let Carol know that, to just come in the door. So, and then she got some help, so.
And the police are more than willing to go out on a safety check, and they'll do it in a hurry.
Okay, the other thing, let's leave that.
Okay,
No, I was gonna say, but it's certainly good to have discussions, because I think we're all in agreement that we want to look at ways to do things more efficiently if possible and be innovative. We know that the money is an issue. At the same time, we have to weigh that with issues of providing high level of service, with liability issues and stuff. So no, it's a good discussion to have, so I appreciate you bringing it up and having that meeting with me. And it's something we'll consider doing when we look at the budget, is to look at these services we provide and see if we can do them smarter and save money with, at the same time, delivering a high level of service and also mitigating our risks, so.
okay, let's move on then. Year-end bonuses?
So, time out, one final comment. Another way of looking at this is, we cut some of the, for instance, magazine subscriptions. Because of budget issues. Even though the magazines that were cut were the ones that the staff believed to be used the least. It might be that, how do you weigh getting some books to a dozen people as opposed to now 100 people don't get this magazine?
Well, let me
That's
speak
their
to that.
job.
Let me speak to that one. Because what it sounds like is we're looking at the wrong things. And I'll explain why. Every year in Washington, you hear the big debate about how we're going to save dollars on the budget.
And they never
Every
do.
time. And every time they do, but they do it in these tiny little areas like we're seeing here. This little pocket area where, yes, we can save a few pennies here, a few pennies there. Nobody looks at where we're actually spending the majority of the money. This is not where we're spending the majority of the money. If we want to actually be serious about cutting costs, we can't look at homebound delivery. We have to look at things like staffing,
The biggest.
staffing, databases, materials, the things we actually spend tons of money on. Unfortunately, those are the things we want to cut the least, so we don't.
Well, for what it's worth, I don't think we're spending a large enough percentage of our budget on materials as it is, but that's another discussion.
I think the core that we have is, and this is something where we are not accurately capturing our spending. We talk about materials, and materials are great because they're measurable, there's something physical you can look at. But what we really need is to talk about how much of our budget goes to our mission and how much goes to overhead. I think this definitely falls under our mission. And when we're
Okay.
talking about homebound delivery, I don't see how that doesn't fall into the category of supporting lifelong learning, kindling the imagination of children and adults.
Okay, that is another way of looking at it, thank you.
Materials certainly do that, but so do a lot of our programs, which require staff. So this is something that I've mentioned before. With any not-for-profit, not just libraries, you look at what percentage of the money that you bring in is eventually going to go to what it is you're actually there to support, and what percentage goes to being able to provide those services in the first place. At the back of house stuff is needed. We need servers, we need websites, we need,
Tech people.
exactly. But at the same time, they're not out there helping our guests, and helping our patrons. They're the people that, if ideally we had to cut anything, that's where we start looking at how do we do this cheaper. But that's another story, never mind.
Did you hear from?
No, as I
Let
say,
you have the last word, because we have.
no, these are some good discussions, and let's bring these to that December 2nd meeting when we talk about the strategic
Right.
planning process, because some of this ties into that as well.
Okay.
So,
All right, let's go on to F then, please.
And move the board authorize bonuses for staff appreciation in the amount of $50 per staff member to be included in paycheck.
Not in, with.
I think it's separate.
But what date?
Usually we don't do it right at the holiday because it's supposed to be for.
We do it before year end?
I say it's at the
Before year
director's
end.
discretion.
Before the end of 2022.
I will second this.
Discussion?
Jan says right after Thanksgiving, which is
So,
every year.
before
it's
2022.
months.
Discussion, please?
Yes.
Someone did second. Discussion?
We have an excellent staff, and I think they've earned their bonuses for the year.
Okay, let's have a roll call.
Can I bring something up though? You always have to remember that, are you authorizing it pre-deduction or, because we,
Oh.
then we have to go back and revisit, or is it they're gonna actually get $50 so that we have to, right, Ryan?
That's right, I forgot.
Turn it into $68.14.
I know the answer to this question.
Go ahead.
It's budgeted so that they get $50 and it's grossed up for the payroll taxes. So they end up with $50 net.
Net, okay,
Thank
thanks.
you, Andrea.
So,
All right, let's have a roll call, please.
Cohen,
Abstain.
Deal,
I'll go for it.
Nimi,
Aye.
Sheldon,
Aye.
Parkapisi,
aye.
Katsinis,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Aye.
Ice House.
Okay, semi-annual review, this is just a reminder that this has to be done by the end of the year, Tom and Nancy, so it can go on the January agenda. So I don't want to spring it on you at the last second when you're, trying to get your Christmas dinner on the table. So I just thought I would mention it. So anyway, it needs to be for the January agenda.
Thank you.
It's not on the agenda for December.
This was
No,
just-
because we checked on it.
Okay,
I checked it.
okay.
I don't know how I.
January and July.
Yes, January and July, yes. Mhm.
should be
I think it's
like-
just a second reminder is what that
Yeah, I
is.
think it is, yeah,
Okay.
just a reminder.
Yeah, I think that we can manage more quickly. Now that we
Okay.
know what we're doing.
Any other things, agenda items for the December meeting, please? Nothing?
Is that when we're going to discuss the director,
Yeah, that's what we just talked about, yeah. Excuse me?
director discussion? Or executive session?
Yeah, oh, I have that, yeah. In fact, I should have mentioned that I just asked Ryan to put this exec session on as a placeholder in case we didn't get its work done, but we don't need to do that because we did get our work done.
But we'll leave one for December.
We will, yes, uh-huh. Anything else?
Well, I suppose having something in the December minutes that says that since the semi-annual review is in these minutes, saying that Tom and I will do it prior to the January meeting.
Yes.
Do we need to have that on
No,
next
we'll
month also?
No, we will not need that on there, no.
Yeah.
Anything else? Public forum?
I'd just like to say that the bookmobile is out there. It has its spot if you want to check it, not the bookmobile, the van. So it's on the very end of the row closest to the building if you want to check it out. And to just remind everybody that this is a used vehicle, and if you want to, all start calling me and telling me that there's a crack in the bumper, we know about that. But, and we're just really excited about it. Actually, they've taken it out a couple of times. We're going to make sure that we get the things ready for, the next step would be to start the picking up off-site pickup of materials and drop off, and that'll, Kevin, one of the staff members, that will be part of his job, but that's down the line a little bit. But we're very excited about it, so if you want to check it out on your way up.
It looks very cool, I checked it out.
And Latoya did a beautiful job with the graphics. They're gonna have to fix a couple little things, but it looks really great.
Used or not, we have nowhere we can park it inside, do we?
No.
We parked it inside for 3 days, but they had to move everything, but we actually are talking about maybe like sometime, because Joe is really handy, and if we were to get like a carport type of one of those, you can, maybe down the line, we don't have the money for it this year, but that would be something I would probably be trying to put in the budget for next year, something like that, to at least keep it out of the
Keep the
elements.
snow off of it, and yeah, give it a bit of shelter at least.
And even though the back, somebody else asked me about this, so the back has a picture on it on the back window, but you can see out it anyway. It's one of those special ones that you can still see out of, so make sure you drive by and check it out. It's really cute.
Just a quick question on the carport side, what about a pop-up carport?
I don't know, we could look into that, I don't know anything
It
about
might be
it.
cheaper to do that than pay somebody to wipe off the windshield every time we have to take it out.
I don't, can look into that, I don't know anything about this.
I think Joe can handle it.
Joe can handle it, Joe's good.
Okay, announcements, they're all on here. We left off the SOAR, December 1st,
Well, I think it was, yeah, that is definitive, yes, but
December 1st, 7 PM. And also the Gorman thing on the 12th. What time was that?
10:30.
10:30. So shall we pick a date for committee of the whole?
I thought that committee of the whole was going to be dedicated to the strategic planning process.
Oh, that's right, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's-
Mhm,
but
That's
I-
right, that is committee of the whole, that's right. Mhm. And I
Okay,
have.
so that is December the 1st?
Yes, December 1st, and that's the SOAR meeting. And personnel will need to meet once after Ryan,
After the first.
after he gives us his self-eval, don't you think? After the 8th, but before the 15th. I'm thinking. And I would really like it if everyone could commit to come to that, so that we don't have to repeat it in the exec session of the 15th. We can just know what we're gonna say and then invite Ryan in, rather than have to tally, discuss, and invite Ryan in. Don't you think that would be?
Well, then I'd say set a date and time for it. I'm
Yes,
assuming the committee of the whole on December 1st is at 7 PM.
yes. Mm-hmm. So what about the 9th, 10th? 10th,
That's a Thursday?
Thursday? Okay.
Thursday, the
Thursday, December
personnel,
10th.
Thursday, the
7
10th,
p.m.
at 7.
Yes. And Art is on the 7th. Any other announcements? Anyone want to move to adjourn?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain.
Oh, wait.
8:31. Yeah. Thank you.
George, any chance of getting those statistics? Yes.